Hello, people.
I actually reviewed everything.
We're recording. Welcome to Main Event Boxing Talk, Tom, and people watching. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing well, Nathan. How are you doing over there? I heard things are getting better.
Yeah, things have opened up a little bit.
Have you been down to the pub yet?
I went down the other day and everything, and it wasn't worth the time or the energy.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
But let's start. Let me just go back to this. Right, so Dave Allen has announced his return to boxing. You know,
Well,
I like the guy.
Yeah, I like him too. Maybe him and Lovejoy can fight. What do you think after
That would be a great
title fight? That would be marvelous, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, I just hope he doesn't get hurt. You know, he's a good guy.
I think he should only be fighting at a very low level from now on, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he belongs up there with the top 10 contenders, Even F.A. Ajaba would probably put his lights out.
He's not really good enough.
No, he's not. But he's good. He's good. He'll make some money. I think he sees himself, in the mix somewhere over there in Europe and in England. And he'll make some money. He's a fan favorite. That's all good.
Go to the next. In other news, I have something in front of me here. Daniel Dubois is making a comeback. And it's against Bogdan Dinu for the WBA interim title. This is another crazy decision.
Crazy in what way? In the match or because of his injury?
Just the fact that he lost and suddenly you can get beaten that raw during the title shot. I don't know what to do.
Do we really see this as a title shot?
No, it's just an interim title. The fact that the WBA is sanctioning this is bullshit. Daniel Dubois is a good fighter. He's getting better, and he probably learned a lot from this. But Bogdan Dinu, this is the sort of guy he should have been fighting before.
Right.
Guys you fight on the way up, not on.
Well, are you trying to say you think he may be on the way down, Dubois?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure the point there that you were trying to make. I got the last point, but as far as Dubois is concerned, I mean, this is a good fight for him coming back to see if he could test his eye.
I've got his record, so everybody who's watching this can see. So, Bob, can you see it on the screen?
Yeah, and I've watched both fighters. I've seen him fight. Do you remember when he fought Big Baby Miller?
I do, yeah. He can fight a bit. Don't get me wrong. He's got good basic skills. He's got a good jab. He can fight a bit. He's not a bum. He's just not a top 15 fighter in the world,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's a good fight for him coming back after an injury.
Yeah.
I don't think this guy poses a puncher's power here.
No, it'll be over
a heavy-handed puncher.
Rounds. But I don't like the fact that they put some sort of title on the line. I mean, the WBA have 4 world champions right now.
Mm-hmm.
The champion in recess and the gold guy.
Do we really care? We want to see Fury and we want to see AJ. That's what we want to see, and we want to see Wilder fight somebody and Ruiz fight somebody.
He's a guy who will get better in probably 3 or 4 years' time, be a top 20 contender. But they're pushing him too fast. Still, they don't seem to have learned.
Well, those are the promotional companies. They want an undefeated young fighter with an undefeated record to win one of these joke titles, and they could promote him to make money and gain interest. So right now, if he doesn't win this fight convincingly, he's going to be like relegated to fighting guys, below the top 10.
Like Kevin Johnson's this one. The problem he's got is that he's got the wrong promoter. Dubois always had the wrong promoter. If he was under Eddie Hearn, this wouldn't be happening. If Eddie Hearn made this fight, he'd get so much abuse for making it.
That's right.
I just think you've got to have a happy meeting. Frank Warren does not care about Daniel Dubois, whereas Eddie Hearn has the platform to build him. He would fit perfectly into Eddie Hearn,
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I think though it's a good match for him coming back. That's what I want to say that's positive about it. We'll see how he deals with the injury, and that's really important because you
Yeah.
know what Kell Brook went through.
Oh yeah, yeah. He has to win this fight, you know, and win it well and look convincing. You know, I think they should have given him a slightly easier fight to come back, and then this fight. You know,
Well,
I don't.
I definitely think that Dubois is much stronger than this guy,
Oh
and
yeah, he is.
and will eventually get to him
Yeah,
in the later rounds.
but Dubai needs to learn some defense. He needs a new coach. He needs to learn how to do the basics. He can't even do the basics properly. You know, from what I've
Well,
observed.
I understand. Yes, I agree.
Let me see what's next. God. Uh,
We had Areola talking about Andy Ruiz sparring when he was
yeah.
17, and now Areola wants to be like Andy Ruiz. I find that funny. Um, I don't know what to say about that. I think Andy Ruiz is going to beat him convincingly.
I think he's going to destroy him. To be honest,
Hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
he'll be lucky
Andy
if it
Ruiz
lasts.
is looking good.
Yeah, he's a good fighter, but well, he was in his day, you know. But
Right. He had guts. He got in there. He wasn't afraid to fight those big guys, and he had guts. He put it on the line, and he lost a couple of big fights. But he was always trying to be competitive, and that's what I admired about
the thing like say with Arioli, with what he had, he did well to get as far as he got anyway. With what a little ability he had, you know, he did well. He more than overachieved in his career, I'd say.
him. Well, I wouldn't say he had little ability. He had a very good amateur career,
He did, but
and
he, you know, he
but
I look
not.
at him as a poor man's Ruiz
Well, you could
before Andy
say
Ruiz.
that. I mean, these guys are have a big age gap, and Andy Ruiz
10
has
years.
always been heavy-handed and with fast hands.
But if you
So,
go back to see Arella in his prime, he was decent for the time in the heavyweight division when he was in his prime. What 2000 and what year did he fight Klitschko? 2009, wasn't it? Or 2008?
something,
Yeah, about 12 years.
yeah, that sounds about right. I'd have
So the
to look at
heavyweight
his
division
record.
was weak back then. You know, very weak.
Well, he also fought Stavern when Stavern
Yeah,
was better.
broke his nose. Yeah, Stavern when Stavern looked like an athlete. Yeah.
Right.
You know, when I look at boxing's past, I think we've come a long way in the last 12, 13 years in the heavyweight with the talent we've got now.
Well, I think yes, there's been an improvement. We don't have the Klitschko's dominating the way we used to.
No, but
They
if
were
you
just
had both Klitschko's in their prime now and had the Joshua's, all these guys together, it'd be a much more exciting division than it is now.
yeah, I think it would have been great actually because both of the Klitschko brothers could fight. They were very strong and they could box. So it would be a very competitive era. I mean, once Lennox Lewis dropped out,
There
it
was no,
kind of got they took over, you know.
but you had the David Hayes and all these guys that were all pretenders. You know, all these small guys that were good, Adamek, they were all good, but they just weren't big enough. That's all it was, you know.
Well, some of them were big enough. What's his name? Marius Walsh,
Yeah,
right? Was big enough,
when
and
he
that
was
other
good.
guy. Yeah, and then he had Povetkin in there when Povetkin was younger.
Oh, he was very good. Right, let's
So
move on to the next thing. White
yes,
says he's not
yes.
concerned with the Usyk's abilities as a heavyweight. Well, he ought to be worried.
I don't think so. I think White could overpower him. White has faster hands than Chisora. He had trouble with Chisora. He was on his bike all night. I think White would be able to cut off the ring
Yeah.
and get some good shots in there. I would favor White in that fight.
You know what? I actually believe that Usyk can outbox Dillian White. Dillian White has sloppy feet. He's not the fastest heavyweight. He's good, but I just don't. I think Usyk will just run rings around him and outbox. Yeah, He may get a few hits, but he will, be able to avoid most of the punches. He'll be able to. I mean, he's got. Don't forget, he's got that cruiserweight speed, so he can see. He can see Chisora's punches coming. I know Chisora's not White.
Well, I think White is a couple of steps up from Chisora, and it's going to be a harder fight. It's going to be an interesting one. I hope they don't take 5 years to make it, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. Clarissa Shields has said, I'd whoop Jake Paul's ass. His fights are clown shows.
Well, Clarissa doesn't have a big punch, but I'm sure she could box the ears off of him. And Jake Paul, in the article you sent me, he said he has CTE, and that's terrible. He shouldn't be fighting
he
at all.
Shouldn't be fighting. How can he have CTE fighting nobody?
I don't know how he could get a license to fight if that's on his medical record. Either he's bullshitting or he actually has it and the doctor said he could fight, or
What
I don't
exactly
know.
is a CTE? Could you explain?
Well, it's when athletes get it, football players, boxers. It's from concussions, consecutive concussions. And what happens is that your brain cells start to harden, and the more impact you get, the brain cells start to harden more, and it spreads and it starts cutting off, your cognitive awareness, your memory, your coordination. It could make you psychotic and violent. It eventually will kill you, because your brain can't function anymore.
Wow, that's crazy. So,
and it's progressive.
Okay. For me, this guy, how he gets a license anyway is beyond me. He does have a little bit of talent. I'm not going to lie. I think he could go somewhere in the professional game. Not top level, but sort of like journeyman sort of.
I think Clarissa is spot on with what she said. This is not real boxing. This is a joke.
No,
I mean,
yeah, it's a joke, but they're getting big money for it. The boxers are jealous because these guys who are meant to be nobodies are any more than them.
Well, it's true. It's true, and that's why she's saying she could beat him because the guy is not a boxer in terms of being. I mean, three fights, and he's fought what guys who never got in the ring. It's crazy. And then his brother's going to fight. Right. His brother's going to fight Floyd in June or July, and that's nuts.
But at least Ben Askren can actually fight people for real. At least he can do. Ben Askren is a fighting machine,
Yeah, I mean he's a solid MMA guy. I think he was a former champion. I'm not sure, but
he won't win. That won't be enough to win this fight.
No, he's more of a wrestler. Anyway, it's a joke. Let's move on. Oh God. So let's see. Canelo and Saunders. That's kind of started heating up, and Tyson Fury is saying that Saunders can outbox Canelo in
no, not at all.
I don't think so. I think if he's up for the fight and he's trained well, he'll be able to move around. But I think Canelo's going to start cutting off the ring and pounding him, and I don't know if Canelo could take him out, but at least you think he can take him out?
I don't think that Saunders has as good a chin as what Smith does.
Well, the fighters that have given Canelo trouble are the fighters that can move, punch and move. And but I would say if this fight happened maybe 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I would give more of an edge to Saunders, sort of, kind of. But at this point, I think Canelo is just going to be too good for him.
I think what will happen is we'll see what we normally see. The first 3 or 4 rounds, Canelo will do nothing like he normally does. Then out of nowhere, he'll just take over and start hitting him with a barrage of punches, and he'll be stopped soon after.
Right. Well, the point, I think it's going to be interesting. I think, I definitely think that Saunders being a southpaw and a good mover will give him some problems. Like Lara did. You saw the fight with Lara when he was a junior middleweight. Yeah. He has trouble with guys like that.
The problem for me is it's not an easy. This is going to be a tough fight. the toughest he's ever had in his career. Let's see what's next.
Yeah. You have Munguia ring return, but he doesn't have an opponent yet.
Is
I
this
mean,
middleweight?
yeah, he's a middleweight now. He's no longer junior middleweight. I think he gave up that title
Yeah.
because he's getting too big. So two of his opponents have dropped out because of injuries, and so
Right.
now they have a date and they have a venue, but they don't have an opponent yet. Who do you think they could match him with? I mean, what middleweights could they match him with?
God. God, who would they use? That Chudinov guy? Chudinov would be a good opponent for him.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think it'll be competitive?
No, probably not. But it would be, it'd be good for him to fight someone who's a former world champion.
Yeah, it would be. He takes a good punch and he hangs in there. He's always in great shape. He moves around, but maybe Morata, or what do you think about Eubank Jr., fam?
I think that's a very good fight for him.
I think it's a good fight,
and it's
right?
a winnable fight for him. So I'd pick him to beat Eubank, to be honest.
Right. Devonchenko would be a good match. Andrade, I think, could handle him, and so could Charlo and Golovkin.
Would be far too risky at this stage.
For who, Andrade or Munguia?
Who are we talking about now?
We're talking about Munguia. He needs an opponent.
Yeah,
so.
I think Derenchenko would be good, but he's too risky. He'd be too risky. He's a very good fighter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What about Rosado? Gabe Rosado?
I don't see him listed much anywhere anymore, Rosado.
Maybe
I think he's fell down in the ratings. There's also Seretz Meta, maybe.
Sheremet again. Yeah, he'd be a good opponent. I'd pick him to beat Sheremet.
Yeah, and then you have Molina. That would be he would.
Or they could just feed him another British fighter like they always do. These Mexicans.
Well, what about Adams?
Yeah, that would be a good opponent.
I don't know. I like to see him in Eubank Jr. That would be a good fight.
Yeah, it'd be very competitive. Right, the next thing is the America's Olympic qualifying tournament has been scrapped. They're now going to do it on rankings, world rankings instead, who goes to the Olympics, which is fair enough, I'd say,
I mean, considering the COVID, yeah, although some guys could have come up and won that who weren't at the top of the rankings, a year or a year and a half, there could have been a lot of improvement, but COVID has stopped a lot of training facilities and gyms and all of that stuff. So yeah, I guess that's the best thing they could do under the circumstances.
I think it works out better for everyone. It's not fair, but that with what's happened, it's fair enough, I guess. Right.
Yeah, I mean, COVID has changed things. What are you going to do?
Yeah, definitely. Stephen Fulton is going to face the Neri Figueroa winner in September the 11th.
That should be good. Who do you favor in Neri and Figueroa?
Figueroa, to be honest.
Yeah, Neri's good though. I like Figueroa too. I think Figueroa is a bit stronger and a bit heavier with his punches, and I think he's taller too, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be a good match.
What weight is the boy wonder now? Former featherweight champion.
Which one? Well, I think
you know who I mean.
Neri is super bantamweight.
He was a WBO featherweight champion, but he vacated the belt. I forgot. Is it Shakur?
Right. Well,
Shakur.
I think this is super bantamweight. I think that's what it is. It's a super bantamweight fight, because what was his name? Yeah, super bantamweight. Because that when was it Neri who fought Akhmadaliev or something?
Yeah.
And he lost the close decision, right?
Yeah, very close decision.
Yeah, I thought Neri was winning, to be honest with you. Whatever. But there was a very close fight, and he looked good in it. So it'll be a good match, and whoever wins will go with what's his name, Stefan. All right.
Yeah.
He was good. He's good too.
David Benavides will be fighting Uz Katsguy on August
I
the
like that
28th.
fight. I like that fight
Very good
because
fight.
Uskatska is a tough, strong puncher, and so is Benavides. I favor Benavides in this.
This will be a
Uh,
war because Uz Katsguy loves to mix it up.
oh yeah, yeah. Benavides likes to do the same.
He's the younger,
Although I
he's a freshman.
Yeah, although I think Benavides will keep him on the outside for a while. He's got a real strong jab, Benavides. So I'm thinking that's what he's going to do. You know what I mean?
I'm a big fan of him, you know. Let me
I
see.
know, and we would like to see him fight Canelo, right? You
Yeah.
think Canelo will fight him? No,
No, no.
I don't think so.
He's not old enough and shot enough for him to fight.
You only
Right.
say that because it's true. Could
Yeah.
you hold on 1 second? Could you pause the recording for a second?
Give me a second. Let me just pause it.
Just pause it.
So anyway, next in the news, the Joshua Fury site has been approved for the first fight.
Right. Good. It looks like it's going to happen. They say Saudi Arabia. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it'll be Saudi Arabia. They talked
Right.
about Las Vegas as well. I think
Well,
this
that would
fight
be great.
will be better in
Vegas, but
America.
I'm sure the Saudis could come up with more money.
Yeah, I would rather see this fight in America, to be absolutely honest. You know, I don't want to see it in the Middle East. It's ridiculous. I know it's about the most money, but for atmosphere, I mean, them lot, they don't care about heavyweight fights, do they, or who the best guy is?
No, it's true. But the thing is, there's less tax liability there. There's a lot of things that attract the promoters to go there. Don't forget, Vegas, you're going to have to pay taxes to, on any money you make. And even if you're from England or another country, you're going to have to pay so much money. You're going to have to pay this, that. They could get away in Saudi Arabia with a lot of things. So if that's the case, and we're talking about millions of dollars, it would probably be the best interest even of the fighters to go there, so they don't have all that tax liability. Makes sense?
Agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
In other news, Clarissa Shield has extended her promotional agreement with Dimitri Salita. I think this is a good move.
I think it's a good move too, because they're starting to put on better and better fights. And you know what I'm saying? That's good for her, and they've taken care of her, and as long as they keep taking care of you, great.
What's the shame is she's a bigger star than Katie Taylor. She's the biggest star in women's boxing, and then you've got her and Savannah Marshall, the two of the biggest names, next to the others.
Well, she deserves it. I mean, she has been great, really great. I mean, she's not a big puncher, but she's done really well, and she's brought a lot of talent to the sport.
So, yeah, I mean, she's opened a lot of minds.
She has, fortunately, and that's a good thing that she's, been as good as she's been, and she seems to want to be. Doesn't she have an MMA fight coming up?
Yeah.
That I'm kind of worried about. Why? I mean, is she training like an MMA? That's a different type of training. You know what I'm saying? It's different, man. Whatever.
Let's see what else.
But
right, in other news, FA Jaguar wants Daniel Dubois, Tony Yoka, or Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce.
I would say be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, Joyce has no reason to fight. When he's he's not far from a title shot, and Dubois doesn't need it because it's too dangerous for him. Tony Yoka, I think, would be too good for him.
Well, he's got to move up to somebody. I mean, I can't see him fighting White. I think
he won't be fighting Dubois or Joyce. I think Tony Yoka would take that fight in a heartbeat, and he would punish Ajab. Ajab is a very powerful fighter, good fighter. but he lacks the defensive skills at this stage. He needs to keep on improving, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea for him. That fight, Tony Yoka, would be too big for him, you know.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I think he has just too much skill. He has a good, he won gold medal at the Olympics. It's just not a good move for him right now. I don't think
Yeah.
Yoka's the guy that he should be getting in there with. He should keep fighting the guys that he's just above their level for a while or at their level so that he could keep getting better. He's not ready for a title shot.
Not at all. You know, he's a long
Yeah,
way.
and he doesn't want to lose to one of these guys right now. Any one of those guys are dangerous for him. You agree?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, did you hear that this fight with Evander Holyfield and Kevin McBride? It's 6 rounds, but it's not an exhibition. It's going to be a real fight.
What?
Yeah, I just read this today. Holyfield McBride, not an exhibition. It's on fightnews.com.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
A real 6-round fight, not an exhibition like the recent Tyson Jones Jr.
I have to be honest. Let me look at the tail of the tape here quickly. So, Evander Holyfield. It should just be an exhibition. It shouldn't be a proper fight.
Well, they're making it a proper fight. That's going to be kind of weird, don't you think? I think it's an ego trip, you know, because Tyson supposedly had an exhibition. And I think Holyfield is playing mind games with Tyson. Tyson doesn't want to be on Thriller anymore, so that fight is off the books right now. And they're saying they have 2 more promotional fights with Tyson that they're contracted for, and Tyson is giving them the finger and saying, "No, I'm not doing it."
Yeah, I'm just looking at Kevin McBride's result. He's the younger man by a good decade, and you know he fought for 10 years. And you know, towards the end of his career, he was never anything special, was he, Kevin McBride?
No. The only claim to fame is that he beat, you know, it was Tyson's last fight. And he beat him.
Oh yeah, I mean, how long?
And Tyson was in terrible shape back
That's
then, right?
16 years ago. Can you believe that? Jesus.
I believe every word of it.
I remember watching that fight. I paid £10 back in the day to watch that. I was disgusted, should we say the very least.
I know. You know, what are you going to do? I was watching this morning. I watched Muhammad Ali and Ernie Terrell, and then I watched a last of Muhammad's last fights, and it was just so terrible. The decline was just unbelievable. But you know, he was still great. But that's an example of why Jake Paul should get out now.
I think Kevin McBride will beat Evander Holyfield. I think Evander Holyfield's so shot. At least, you know, Kevin McBride's still relatively young, you know. He didn't look in great shape, but, you know, I think he hasn't had the wear and tear that Holyfield's had, you know. Do you agree that McBride will win this?
I think Holyfield will win. If Holyfield's in good enough condition to go 6 rounds,
yeah. But McBride,
I think he'll out-tough him.
I watched some of his last fights where he fought Mike Muller. He got knocked down 6 times in 4 rounds. And then he lost to, is it Thomas Adamek? Thomas Adamek beat him up for 10 rounds. He was like, because he was 6'7", and Adamek's like 6 foot. It was ridiculous. McBride was throwing punches, and Adamek was just hitting him about 6-7 punch combinations, and McBride just stood there with his head out, you know, being punched. It was pretty uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? You know, what can you do about it? That's the level of the guys that you're going to be dealing with in this particular situation, and it's not going to get any better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think this exhibition nonsense where these guys can't retire it and just stay retired. Look,
look. Holyfield needs the money.
He does, yeah.
Tyson doesn't need the money. Holyfield needs the money.
You know, this just begs the question. These guys, somebody should pay them big money to do tours, you know, not get in the ring.
Right.
We don't need to see a brain-damaged Holyfield taking him off punishment, do we, really? I mean, It's not
No,
advisable.
of course it's not advisable, but you tell the guys that they can't do it, and they'll probably do it because of their ego. And don't forget, you're talking about an elite athlete,
Who was an
not
elite
just
fighter 20
anybody.
years ago?
Yeah, you're talking about one of the greatest heavyweights that ever lived, one of the
But
toughest
somebody
heavyweights.
has to tell these guys that enough is enough. You had your beating, you had your chance, you had your titles, you had your money, you had it all. You know, if you're going to fight, make it an exhibition. Don't make it a proper fight. You know, if it's an
Well,
exhibition, then it's better. With
well,
with gloves.
here's the deal. The people that tell them that are the licensing boards, okay? And if they clear them to fight, then they could fight. I don't
And
know
the
how
fact
Muhammad
that,
Ali got cleared to fight.
well, he shouldn't have been. It's only because his name
No.
was. The problem is for me is when you overstep the mark for people's safety. Forget the millions of pounds, forget everything, and we're talking about a fighter's safety. A guy who has earned enough respect outside the ring that he doesn't have to fight anymore. You know, they should be
Well,
paying him, paying big money to do a film or something, do a tour, but not get
well,
back in the ring. You know,
you're preaching to the choir here. You know, I'm very much on board with Mauricio Suleiman on fighter safety and the safety of the fighters. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do, but I believe that the fact that we want to see two, you know, guys who are nearly in their 60s fight and beat the hell out of each other, to me, there's something wrong with that. You know, I can't get behind it.
Well, you ever heard the term glory days?
Yeah.
Well, it's like you hear an old song from an old band that can't, like Robert Plant from Led
Yeah.
Zeppelin. He can't hit those high notes anymore, but people will still come out and hear him.
Yeah.
You know, if
But
Led Zeppelin got together, people would come out to listen to them.
but Mike Tyson, you know, about just let these guys grow old gracefully. You know, there's no. It's like people going on too long. You don't need to go on too long. If you've got the money, like Mayweather had the right idea. He got in and got out, and he chose his opponents to be weak people. Do you understand? He got out at the right time. And
Well, you're talking about after he retired. They were weak people.
When he retired, he didn't fight. He did. I mean, you only see him fight people in an even match, don't you, with Mayweather now? Yeah.
Right. I agree, you know, but these guys need the money.
Yeah, I just think in boxing for these older guys, there should be people who help them manage their money, people who, you know, give them in proper sound advice, like Anthony Joshua's got. Like when he retires, he won't be broke. You know.
Right, but
That's
see, what happens is you get married to people, and then
Yeah.
you get divorced, you fool around, you have vices. I mean, you take somebody who never had anything like Mike Tyson, and then all of a sudden he's a multimillionaire, and he's partying his brains out, and you know, chasing all these women and buying cars, and so, oh, you want that car, baby? I'll buy you the car. You know,
I'm
and
so
you lose
glad that
control.
today's generation of top fighters like the Joshuas, the Whites, and the Furies are good with their money. You know, they've been advised. People have said, right, you won't be able to do this in 20 years. You know, these guys have the right idea. And I think
Well,
that's honourable.
hopefully they do. Hopefully, and they stay married and they don't go through terrible divorces and lose
Yeah.
everything.
What are we going to see next? Tim Witherspoon back in the ring? I mean, come on. And Frank Bruno back in the ring.
Is Tim Witherspoon still alive?
Yeah, he is, yeah. He's
Are
about
you
54.
sure?
Yeah.
Hold on, I thought he died.
Who told you that?
Oh, hold on.
Let me check. I think he's still alive.
He's out of Philadelphia. I like Tim Witherspoon. He terrible Tim. Yeah, he's 63.
He's a good
I'm
guy.
sorry,
He's in good
Tim.
shape.
I'm sorry, Tim.
Could you imagine if fucking what's his name came out of retirement? Larry Holmes or George Foreman came out of retirement. I mean, really? Are we going to see these guys next? You know, 70-year-old man? No.
Well, Holmes couldn't do it. Holmes is smart enough not to do it. And Holmes could have beaten a lot of these guys today. I mean, a lot of these guys couldn't hold up to a guy like him who was such a good boxer.
If Vladimir comes out of retirement to do an exhibition, then that's fair enough. Because he lives the lifestyle, you know. He's still in good shape.
Right.
But then next they'll be wanting to wheel Riddick Bowe. And this man can barely string a sentence together. You know. It's like
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, if they'll probably sanction him. I mean, then you've got other guys.
Look, you have to understand the mentality here.
I
of the
did.
fighter.
I
A
did.
lot of these guys don't know how to do anything else, and a lot of them have gone through their money and didn't have a business set up or investment set up. So when they get an opportunity to make a few $1,000,000 to fight for
I
6
don't blame
rounds,
him.
it's like they're going to do it.
So, I mean,
There
as
you go.
long as he makes like 10 million out of this fight, Holyfield, then fair play to him, But then it's like your friend, our mutual friend, Joshua Dempsey. Have you heard him speak?
Yes, I have.
And it's so sad to see him. Like, I mean, he's got the Dempsey lines that he does.
Well,
Which
he
well.
what was his last fight? Was against Andy Ruiz, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And he got beat soundly in that one, and he gave props to Andy.
Yeah, I mean, Gormley was a good fighter in his day, 20 years ago when he turned pro or whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
But when I hear him talk now, he's like, yeah, it's upsetting to see him like a guy who I respect,
I know.
Right, anyway, we final predictions for the weekend. Andrade will win his fight, no problem.
Yes, I think he will. I watched a few of his fights today, and he's very good. He just gets over anxious sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when he gets somebody hurt, he just gets over anxious, and he gets emotional. He just needs to settle down a little bit, but he's very formidable. I like to see him fight the Charlo or Canelo or anybody. A lot of guys just won't fight him.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
Right,
we've reached the end of the podcast. We'll be back on Monday, I guess. Monday or Tuesday. Let me just stop.
Well,
Let me just stop.
yeah.